As you guys can tell by the title of this video, we're going to be talking about the melee playstyle in the finals, and who better to do that with than the absolute GOAT himself, Riot. This is one of my great friends that I've met playing the finals, and he has made it all the way to Diamond using just the Riot Shields. An absolutely cracked-ass player, dude. If you want to check this guy out, all of his links are going to be down in the description. I really want him to hit partner. He really deserves it. Super entertaining guy, really down to earth and humble. Make sure you guys check him out. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Why don't you start off by telling us a bit about yourself, where you, how you started playing the finals, and why you chose the Riot Shield, arguably the hardest play style in the game.
Okay, so I played a lot of FPS games and hero shooters in the past. The game that I played before the finals was this game called The Cycle Frontier that was a looter shooter. It was basically Space Tarkov, and that game got shut down in, I think it was September of 2023. And so for a little while I didn't really have a main game, and I fell back to Overwatch, but Overwatch was in a shit state. And then the finals came out, and it was like this perfect combination of like the aspects that I enjoy about hero shooters, where there's classes and abilities and there's different play styles within the same game. Two of my favorite characters were Reinhardt, who's a character with a big shield and a hammer, which requires you to play in a way where you're constantly thinking about shield angle and what your shield's blocking. So that was something that I was already like, I've spent, I think I have 150, 200, maybe 300 hours on Reinhardt and Overwatch.
My God.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time with the shieldy hammerman, and then I also played a lot of Mei, and Mei has ice walls to where you ice wall behind people and then let the Reinhardt smash the person into the ice wall. So using goo as Mei walls and then running Riot Shield as a shield was kind of like an easy swap for me into the game, and I've always loved playing off meta. Like I played Mei, Reinhardt, Junkrat. Those were my like three primary players that I played, which are all like off meta characters. They're not really main picks by any means, and I've always preferred, my favorite way to play a game is to pick an off meta character or an off meta build that's irritating to play against, that makes people rage out, and I get really good at that because I like pissing people off when I play video games. It makes me feel better, you know, at the end of a long day when you've had a rough day, you're like, all right, you know what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go make somebody else break their controller. Let's go.
That's the best feeling for sure. I got some questions about the finals that people have asked me, but also before I jump into those, why don't you tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm primarily on Twitch. I stream pretty much every day. I'm about to move, but I don't know when this video will be out. So I stream pretty much every day. I'm live on Twitch every day, from like evening into the wee hours of the degenerate morning. And then I'm trying to work on being more regular on YouTube as well. And once I get a bit of a system upgrade, we're gonna start doing dual streaming. So
Nice. That'll
yeah.
be fun. That'll be fun.
I also do have TikTok and Instagram, which I've been trying to be more regular on. So
I'll make sure to put them all on screen and in the description as well. Okay, so moving over to the finals. I understand that you have hit Diamond as of recently. Am I right on that?
yeah, I just hit Diamond during the subathon. Me, CC, and my buddy Joffrey hit Diamond. I just
Nice.
barely hit it. I think I might try to push for Ruby, but we're
Nice.
in Diamond officially with nothing but Riot Shield.
That's crazy. What kind of tips do you have for people running the Riot Shield? Is there any go-to gadgets that are kind of a must-have that you would normally maybe not run on a regular medium build?
So in my opinion, the most mandatory thing on Riot Shield, and albeit almost any melee weapon in my opinion, is grenades. Is the most versatile and useful item that is kind of impossible to play without once you learn how to use it. You can use it for cover, you can use it for stalling steals, you can use it for movement, you can use it to trap enemies so you can close distance on them or block them from doing damage while they're stuck inside of a goo wall. It's just, that is definitely the most mandatory. Besides that, I'd say you need some sort of movement. I used to play zipline over bounce pad, but I got more creative at the beginning of the season and started doing a lot of DMAT bounce drop plays off of goo, where you can create infinite cycles where you can infinitely bounce the cash box off the map. And I also fell in love with reshape at the beginning of the season. So currently the kit that I got to Diamond with is DMAT, Riot Shield, reshape, bounce pad, and goo. And I think that's probably the ultimate Riot Shield kit if you're playing aggressive.
I think reshape is kind of cool because that's definitely, I've definitely messed with the reshaper a little bit, but it's not something that I feel is incredibly viable when you're using a gun. But I know on Riot Shield that turrets are probably your mortal enemy sometimes, so I feel
Yeah.
like the reshaper is kind of a must.
It also makes me feel like I'm back in the days when during season 1 and part of season 2, Riot Shield used to not activate mines. So you
Mm.
could just run over minefields and not worry about it. And so having reshape, I can just run into a room again and not give a shit. And if I jump, I can, before I hit the ground, reshape a mine. It was really this thing for me. I understood the usefulness of it, but I wasn't reactionarily thinking of it to where I just had to play with it for a couple weeks. And now I'm at the point where like somebody shoots an RPG at me, and my brain tries to at least reshape the thing before it hits me, you know? And so like
Yeah.
you have to whenever something happens, your brain has to automatically react by pulling out a reshaper, and once you do that, then it's really useful. But until you get there, it's just kind of a wasted slot.
With you hitting diamond, obviously this might be a pretty easy answer, but do you think melee weapons are a viable playstyle in ranked, or do you think you just hit diamond because you're just like the Michael Jordan of melee weapons?
I will go above and beyond and say I might have some of the most playtime on melee weapons. My whole channel is built on the I'm here for entertainment, not sweaty gameplay.
Yeah.
I am by no means amazing at video games. I'm decent. Movement is definitely my number one skill
Yeah.
above like aim or whatever. I spent most of my time up until about 2021, I think, console gaming. I think that if you have a team that is willing to play around the strengths of an off meta weapon,
Hmm.
in ranked, it's actually even more powerful because everybody in ranked is just, for lack of a better way to put it, dick riding meta.
Yeah.
Riot Shield is a meta weapon counter. If you are using any sort of spray or precision weapon, Riot Shield is built to counter that. If you're running flamethrower, hammer, sword, anything like that, I have almost no counter to that. But I barely run into those in ranked, so I actually oftentimes have better KD in ranked than I do in World Tour.
Yeah, it's
And
definitely
so Riot Shield is more of a mental weapon than it is actually a physical weapon. And some of the best rounds that I've played, I don't have high damage. I have bad deaths, but at the end of the day, my teammate utilized off of my plays to make it work. And so it's one of those things you have to have a team that's willing to work around the utility of an off meta weapon.
So I guess with that, I know predominantly you do play Riot Shield. Do you play any other melee weapons competitively?
I haven't brought any other melee weapons into competitive. I'm debating my next step for like competitive stuff. I have enough of the season left that I could push for Ruby Riot Shield, which would be pretty fun.
That
And I
would
would
be
feel like
crazy.
that'd be a fun community claim to be able to be like, yep, I'm the first person I think in the game that has pushed at that point to Ruby with only a Riot Shield. I know
100%.
Troop got to Ruby with Spear and Riot Shield.
Hmm.
I have a friend who plays Riot Shield some on his ranked journey, but mostly plays guns, and
Hmm.
he's Ruby. But I don't know anybody and have not heard of a single person who has pushed all the way to Ruby with nothing but Riot Shield. So that'd be kind of fun. One of my goals is to, at some point during the duration of my time playing this game, manage to hit diamond with every single melee weapon
Okay.
on alt accounts. And so
Okay.
go through with all of them and have an alt account for each one where I play nothing but that weapon on ranked and
Okay.
get all the way up to diamond on all of them because I think that'd be a fun one. I'm currently working on getting all of my melee weapons above level 6. I'm a little bit over halfway done with that. So I think it'd be fun to, since I'm turning into the dad of the melee community, so to speak, I think it'd be fun for me to like put my time in on all the melee weapons so everybody in the community feels like I've given my time to their weapon.
Do you use any guns at all? And if you do, what's your favorite gun?
Ooh, that's hard. So generally speaking, I'm not a huge fan of spray weapons. So like here's my take on it. And it goes back and forth. My settings in game are entirely designed for melee weapons, so when I swap to guns, my sensitivity is really high and twitchy and it's really hard to play guns.
Hmm.
So they're not the most fun for me to play without entirely swapping my settings, and I don't like doing that because then it makes playing melee really hard. So playing guns in this game is a little bit of a challenge for me. That being said, the guns that I do enjoy playing are mostly I used to enjoy the V9S. I actually enjoy the 9.3R more now just because it's kind of a little beast.
Yeah, they buffed it
Um,
recently too, so it makes it real
yeah,
good.
it's fun.
Hmm.
And then Revolver on medium can be fun. I sometimes have fun with Cerberus, but if I'm being honest, I had more fun with Cerberus when it was bad than now that it's good because it was funny when you were trying to get kills with a bad weapon, and now it's just like, yeah, I killed the man. I
Yeah,
should have,
it was like that.
you know.
That guy should have
Uh,
died. So the last thing I wanted to talk about, and I left this one for last because I know this might be a bit longer winded of a conversation. Do you think that any melee weapon in the game needs a buff or a nerf, or do you have any future ideas for any other melee weapons that they could add to the game?
yeah, so I've got a couple opinions. I feel like let's break this down
Oh,
into a couple
all right,
categories.
here we go.
Category one, health of the game in regards to adjustments to weapons. Category two, future weapons
Mm.
and what would be good for evening out classes. First category, I think that and this is kind of a hot take. Sword in conjunction with dash, I think makes the game not fun for a lot of people, especially console players.
100% agree.
It's not good. In my personal opinion, and this is totally not, I'm not saying this should happen. A melee weapon with a movement tech ability should not have gone to the class that has movement specs.
Yes.
I think that sword should have gone to medium or heavy because the dash then gave them movement.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense, in my opinion, in the same way that it doesn't make sense to have stun on light, to give the character that has the most movement things to reduce other people's movements or increase their movement more. It doesn't really make sense. And so, with the current state of sword, especially after the removal of stun, there's no real counter to sword.
No, there's not.
Almost all the other melee weapons have really good counters. Either you stay away from them or there's a specific way to get around them. You
Hmm.
know, like even if it's using another melee weapon, like with Riot Shield, if you use hammer, sword, flamethrower, or just stay the fuck back, I can't do anything. I'm
Hmm.
useless. The only thing you can do is stay away and pray, but they've got gateway, they've got dash, they've got invis, they've got so many solutions to close that gap, get to you and get out before you can do the damage to them. And so like this is one of those places where gamers are really good at telling you what's wrong with a game, but they don't necessarily have the understanding or the statistics to be able to say what needs to be done with it. Personally, I understand that light is just a balancing nightmare and there's some issues with that, but I think that sword by itself gives melee a bad name
Hmm.
and also drives a lot of people maybe not away from the game but doesn't give them a reason to want to keep playing. I feel like sword is almost like nuke, it's not fun to play against, you know. Realistically, Riot Shield needs to be fixed to where the blocking mechanic is consistent so you can actually be skillful with the blocking mechanic, because currently I never use the block mechanic. I just leave the shield on the left side of my body and I
Hmm.
run around. There's no
Hmm.
reason to hard block ever.
Yeah.
So they need to fix the blocking mechanic so it's consistent. And then I personally think they should add a feature where when you are hard blocking, if you go to strike, it does one of two things. You shield bash, and it either does a very subtle stun that does no damage, basically just makes you drop your gun for a half second and stumble like one step back or something like that. Doesn't do any damage, does like a quarter of a second stun, just makes you drop your gun so you can't shoot for a tenth of a second. Or instead of a stun mechanic, a shield bash that does quick melee damage, so I can still do quick melee damage if I'm front to front with somebody without dropping the shield.
Okay. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that would just be a quality of life thing. I don't think either of those would be overpowered, but it would be a huge quality of life change for the Riot Shield. Hammer's hitbox does not match the animation, and I regularly get smashed by Hammer when the character is not moving his hammer. He's just sitting there holding the hammer, and then I die to an overhead strike that didn't visually fucking happen. That shit irritates the fuck out of me. I lose, like, I low key rage out on that one pretty regularly because, like, with
uh,
Riot Shield, I'm like, oh, he's not swinging his hammer. I can push right now. I go to push, I slide in, and then I die instantly. I'm like, what?
he,
What?
wa-
What?
he,
What?
wa- he wasn't there. What do you mean?
Yeah. And so, like, I want them to, again, make hammer consistent. So make the visual animations match the physical animations, both, like, if he hits me, I should see him swing. If he's not visibly swinging, I shouldn't be getting hit by something that's happening that's not visibly happening in game.
Yeah.
That irritates me. Besides that, I think the last thing that I would change, I think that the dagger nerf that just happened was perfect. I think it puts it in a really good spot. The one and only thing on dagger, in the same way that they changed throwing knives to be able to be a alt fire click or hold, they need to do that for dagger. The
Oh,
amount of
okay.
times that I go to charge up a backstab and I think I have it and I let go and nothing happens and I die because of it. Suck.
Oh, I get it. Yeah. Okay.
I love
Yeah.
being able to hold the dagger, but not being able to time out, because you still have to time it, because you click it and then approximately 0.7 seconds later, the animation for the damage appears. So you still have to time it, even if you just click. It's not like it's just instant damage, you
Yeah.
know?
It's not like it was
Like the
before.
old animation. Well, even with the old animation, while you were midair flying at somebody, you had to time it right because the animation was only active for a short period of time. So you still had to time it right. And very often you thought you had the timing right and then you missed it by like a tenth of a second. And so, like, it wasn't broken. They did it to try to make it feel smoother for new players,
Yeah.
but nerfed
Which
it for old players.
Yeah, which I understand.
And
I
so, like,
mean, I feel like
yeah,
trying to bring new people to the game is obviously their number one priority, but I feel like you
yeah.
can't be compromising what the veteran players already know.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, in my opinion, I love what they did trying to make it more skill oriented. I just think that
Hmm.
it should be click or hold, same as the throwing knives. It's the same, it would have been the same buff for both of them, but for some reason, the dagger only got the charge and hold instead of the click or hold. That's that on that one. And then dual blades. Need help.
Yeah.
Um,
That's it. Just need
in my
help.
opinion, in my opinion, I think what would make them functional, and there's two fronts on it. First of all, dual blades are not supposed to block feet shots. You're supposed to have to crouch to block your feet. There's something wrong with the blocking mechanics, and it makes it suck to play against them. In my opinion, to make dual blades effective, what should happen is perfect blocking. You should take 0 damage on a perfect block. But there should also be, so perfect blocking should be 100% accurate, and you should take 0 damage, and you should be able to get headshots. It's a skill thing. If you can reflect a bullet back into someone's face, 100% I should get extra damage for
Yeah,
that.
you definitely
100%.
you definitely should be rewarded for that. Yeah.
And then beyond that, I think that they should add a stamina bar for the blocking mechanic if they're going to buff it like that. And I'm not saying like a short one, like give it, 3-4 seconds of blocking, enough to like, block a mag and a half kind of thing.
Yeah.
And if you do that, I think that it would actually give it a reason to like exist. Because currently it's just a worse Riot Shield, let's be honest. You
Yeah.
don't have latent bullet blocking. You have to be blocking to be able to do something. The damage is nice, but it's not consistent at all. And so, like, in my opinion, if dual blades were to be put in a place where if you were reflecting while crouching and you got a perfect block, you had 100% accuracy and could head tap somebody with that shit. Like, imagine how good it would feel to reflect a sniper bullet back at a light. You like crouch, you do a 180 crouch, you deflect the bullet back straight into a light's face, and he just dies instantly, and you just kill the rat. Like, oh, that would feel so
That
good.
that's like back in Overwatch when you just reflect stuff as Genji.
I know, exactly. So, like, I think that that should be doable. And then also, like, in my opinion, I think that you should be able to deflect throwables with them. I think that might be a nice quality of life. Like, maybe not pyronades because they explode on impact, but, like,
Mhm.
if you throw a grenade at my face, I should be able to deflect it. Maybe not full range back at the person, but, like,
But at least deflect it like kind of 2 feet kind of away from you.
yeah, a little bit. Or like, some of those things, I feel like they should add a couple more items that can get deflected. But also I'm not totally sure. All I know is that dual blades are in a place where they're not horrible, but they just don't feel right. And I can't quite put my finger on that one. And then going on to the next category, which is future weapons being added. Light. So there's two categories of non-guns in the game. There is what I refer to as obviously melee weapons, and then there is ranged melee weapons is the term that I used for them, which is throwing knives and bow.
Hmm.
They're not guns. They're not really melee weapons, but they're in this like fun in-between category where they're like projectile based, some kind of fun thing. And so my community and I have talked about this a bunch. I think some of the next weapons that should be added is medium and heavy both should get a ranged melee weapon of some kind.
Okay, kind of like
Um,
throwing knives, but not the same thing.
Yeah, something similar along those lines. And so some of the most common ones that my community and I have talked about is a crossbow for medium
Hmm.
that's either really slow reloading but hits really heavy and you can one tap up to a medium with it if you hit a headshot on it.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, so like really heavy hitting, but legit takes a good second to reload.
Yeah.
Or potentially even one of the things that I thought would be maybe a fair way to put it is, you know how medieval crossbows you had to use a crank to be able to pull it back?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you had to set it down on the ground and crank it to reset it. So I was thinking potentially as a reload mechanic for being able to one tap. So maybe make it like stupid overpowered. You can one
Hmm.
tap a heavy, but it takes 2 seconds to reload and you have to look at the ground and stay stationary while you're reloading the gun
Oh
or
god,
something
yeah.
like that. Some of the other really common ones that we've talked about are throwing axes, to where basically you would have two of them and you could either do like a hack slash kind of somewhere between the dagger and the dual blade speed, and then you could also throw them, but if you threw them you'd be left with just like knuckle dusters or something like that, so you just have like brass knuckles and punch people for a couple seconds until they respawn on you. The other one for heavy that people have talked about is a slingshot. People thought that'd be pretty funny.
Okay, yeah.
I thought that one would be pretty entertaining. And then some of the other melees that have been talked about a bunch is a lot of people have said that they want knuckle dusters. They want to just fist fight as a heavy. And it
Yeah.
would also be great because they could add so many cool skins for it.
Like
Boxing gloves,
yeah.
fancy knuckle dusters, little like claw fist thingies or something like that. Like there's just so many cool skins that they could add for that weapon that would be pretty funny. And then I know that the community doesn't want this, but like, bro, medium needs some very slight nerfing. I
Yeah.
think anybody who disagrees on that is just dick riding medium a little bit too hard.
A
Like
bit of a casual.
it's been double or triple medium as meta for like 3 seasons back to back at this point, and medium has received almost no nerfs and only buffs for like 3 seasons straight. So like most anybody who's looking at it from a broader perspective can see that that's part of the culprit.
Hmm.
and that like I think that if you slightly nerfed medium, it allows light to have more space in the meta. And just like again, working on making heavy more fun and giving light a place in the meta while trying to do some very, very minor tweaks to make medium slightly less oppressive
Mhm.
would be the best thing for the game from my perspective, from how I play it.
I forgot to mention this in the beginning, but you have a Discord server as well. Is there somewhere that people can join that?
Yeah, so the best place to find my Discord is through my Twitch. If you hop into chat on any of the days that I'm live, or even if you hop in chat when it's not live and you hit !Discord, it'll pop that up. I also have a link in the About section. And as I said earlier in the video, I'm in the process of moving, so currently we're not doing them right now, but normally every Saturday, 4 p.m. PST, we do Melee Customs or a Melee tournament. So if anybody enjoys Melee or wants to show up for some customs, feel free to pop on in.
Sweet.
Discords, we're up to like I think 160, 170 people now, and most of us are melee mains. So if you're looking for a bunch of melee idiots to play games with, we got a world tour and a ranked lobby, LFG and whatnot. So feel free to hop on in here and come
Nice.
say hi.
Yeah, I'm definitely the minority in that Discord server, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think we're probably like 10 or 15% of the players aren't melee mains. It's kind of funny.
I think, yeah, so I think that's gonna be it. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're kind of busy, so I appreciate you coming in to do this
No,
with me.
absolutely, yeah. Happy to pop in for a little while and chit chat with you.
But that is going to be it for the video today. If you guys watched the entire thing, I appreciate you very much. If you guys drop a like, that would be absolutely amazing. And go check out Riot. All of the links that he mentioned is going to be down in the description. Like I said, let's get this guy to partner on Twitch, man. Thank you all so much. Check out my links in the description as well. Peace out.